Most assume that in a tough job market, candidates take interviews more seriously. Yet, in my experience, most candidates can't even introduce themselves in job interviews. The second test I like to share with you when it comes to predicting job interview outcomes would be the story bank test. So long story short, I found that candidates who have between 15 and 20 stories revised at least 3 times are in a significantly better spot to pass interviews, including with FANG companies. So what happens here, if you have fewer stories, like 5 stories, chances are you will deem as not sufficiently experienced for the role that you're applying for. Or if you have 50 stories, then in my experience, you're highly unlikely to have revised those stories at least 3 times and to sell yourself on your full potential. Also, the ideal length of a story after revision seems to be around 1 page. Okay, the third test I'd like to share with you that predicts interview success would be the VIP test. So basically, what do I mean by this? Is that many candidates like being spoiled before and during their job interviews. Oh, you're a perfect match. Oh, I hear from my customers, oh, Dan, don't worry, it's only going to be a formality. They really like me for the job. And unfortunately, people who say this also trend not to prepare or not to take those interviews seriously enough. Okay, prior to the job interview, what this could easily translate to into not preparing, not doing, the basic stuff, your elevator speech or your basic story bank and stuff like that. And even during the job interview, if you don't take interviews seriously, they will, ask you some questions. You'll either block, either answer the wrong question and things like that. If you don't believe me, you can also record your upcoming job interviews and try to listen again to that interview to see how it actually went. Many of my clients are surprised when I provide them with feedback about their own job interviews based on their recordings. Okay. Next one would be the hacker test. Okay, so do you enjoy using AI for your interview prep? Because if you do, in my statistics, you're 90% to fail your job interview. And actually, I recently made a video about this, that Google warns candidates twice on their careers webpage not to use AI for their job interviews, simply because they know that perfectly qualified candidate fails interviews because they fall into the trap of using AI to reward and to transform themselves into a machine or something like that, thinking it would work because, the trend nowadays is that everyone is pushing AI is the next great thing. Passing interviews has always been about role play and story banks. So focusing on these two would be an excellent way to go. Now, if you really want to cheat in job interviews, understand that the baseline scenario is that you must interview well at first. So once you interview well, then you'll understand where you can adjust your performance, where you can further increase your chances to pass these interviews. Some candidates can even read their answers from their computer screens without the interviewer noticing, but they're already good with these things to begin with, right? And the last test I wanted to share with you, slightly uncomfortable, would be the listening test. So during my coaching sessions, I sometimes ask clients the following interview question. Tell me about the time when you disagreed with your boss but had to commit to their decision. And what most of my clients answer to this would be a story sounding on the lines of when the boss had a bad idea but they committed because they're the boss, and in turn they proved to their boss wrong afterwards, after it completed and turned out to be a bad idea, which is a terrible way to sell yourself in a job interview because there's nothing valuable for you as a candidate here. Instead, what you should be focusing on would be on the learnings you took from a good idea that your boss had, to which you had to commit, because we always learn, right? At least in theory, from our bosses. But long story short, I had another coaching session in 3 days, and I asked the same candidate the same interview question. The time when you disagreed with your boss, but had to commit. And you know what they did? They answered it precisely the same way as they did the first time. With the boss was wrong, I was right. Okay, and so long story short, you have to be able to learn and to listen and to self-improve with these things and to always grow from these experiences. And this often comes from your ability to perform during your interview prep as well, during this job interview. The best candidates are not necessarily the best interviewees, but rather listen carefully and adjust their performance because they understand what's good, what's right, and what's wrong before and during their job interviews. So I hope you found this useful, and thank you very much for watching.